Warning to our audience. This segment contains graphic descriptions and visual descriptions of torture. The United Nations Working Group on Arbitrary Detentions calling on the United States to immediately release Abu Zubaydah, who's been held in U.S. custody since 2002 for more than 20 years. First as a CIA black sites, including in Poland and Lithuania. He was later transferred to Guantanamo, where he's been held without charge. The UN body says Abu Zubaydah's ongoing detention may be a crime against humanity. The CIA has been accused of using him as a human guinea pig by testing torture methods on him, including the practice known as waterboarding, which he endured 83 times, and rape under the pretext of rectal feeding. The Center for Policy and Research at Seton Hall University has just published a shocking new report that compiles a series of 40 graphic drawings by Abu Zubaydah that chronicle the horrific torture he endured. The drawings include graphic depictions of waterboarding, force feedings, prisoners being held in boxes, and a practice known as walling. In a moment, we'll be joined by two guests, but first let's turn to the trailer to Alex Gibney's 2021 documentary, The Forever Prisoner.
In 2002, FBI and CIA agents thought they had nabbed a diabolical al-Qaeda mastermind. Abu Zubaydah has never been charged with a crime. He was imprisoned in the secret CIA unit called Strawberry Fields, as in forever.
Prior to 9/11, CIA never captured or detained anybody.
They weren't prepared.
People started looking for who was best to interrogate, and there weren't any.
Psychologist James Mitchell was the only candidate considered.
I just took it for granted that they knew what they were doing.
CIA officers were certain he was holding back because he wasn't telling them what they wanted to hear.
Something more aggressive had to be done.
The lawyer's philosophy is, tell me what you want to do, boss, and I'll make it legal.
We asked him to draw what was done to him.
Abu Zubaydah is put in isolation.
Everything that was happening was Mitchell's experiments. Nudity has been approved, sleep deprivation has been approved, noise has been approved, the same song again and again and again.
He spent 11 days in a coffin-shaped box. He was on the waterboard.
I mean, this is crazy.
The best evidence of what happened is the video.
What was the reason why you thought that it was important to have the tapes destroyed?
I needed to protect the people who were there.
Destroying evidence would inevitably lead to accusations of a cover-up.
It would make the CIA look bad.
It was an impossible story to tell, so I sued the CIA to get materials unredacted.
We saw constant manipulation by the CIA, misleading Bush, misleading Obama.
If my boss tells me it's legal, if the president approved it, I'm not going to get into what some journalist thinks about it.
In America, we have this thing called innocent until proven guilty.
We were the leaders of the effort against cruel and unusual punishment. After 9/11, that's out the window.
Do the ends always justify the means? Are we prepared to abandon our principles in order to defend them?
That was the trailer for Alex Gibney's 2021 documentary, The Forever Prisoner. We're joined now by two guests. Still with us, CIA whistleblower John Kiriakou, who was involved in the capture of Abu Zubaydah. Kiriakou was later jailed for almost 2 years for revealing that the CIA had waterboarded him. We're also joined by one of Abu Zubaydah's lawyers, Mark Denbo. He is a professor at Seton Hall University School of Law and director of its Center for Policy and Research, co-author of the news report, American Torturers, FBI and CIA Abuses at Dark Sites and Guantanamo. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! John Kiriakou, I want to continue with you. Talk about how Abu Zubaydah was caught and where you were, how you were involved with his capture.
Sure. Abu Zubaydah was captured in Faisalabad, Pakistan in late March 2002. I happened to be the chief of CIA counterterrorism operations in Pakistan at the time, and we had been looking for Abu Zubaydah for about 6 weeks. We finally were able to narrow down his possible location to one of 13 sites. We hit all 13 sites simultaneously at 2 o'clock in the morning. and he happened to be in one of those sites. I was at a safe house nearby in radio contact with all of our officers who were at the site. And when I say our officers, I mean they were teams of CIA, FBI, and Pakistani intelligence officers. Abu Zubaydah was shot when he was trying to leap from the roof of one house to the roof of another to get away. After specifically being told not to fire any shots, a Pakistani policeman shot him anyway and nearly killed him. He was hit 3 times with an AK-47. We rushed him to a hospital in Faisalabad. They were able to staunch the bleeding as best they could, and then we put him on a helicopter and sent him to a Pakistani military base. He was there for, I think it was 56 hours in the end, and then put on an unmarked CIA plane and taken to the first of several black sites.
John, what were you told about why you had to find this man? You said the search went on for 6 weeks. What did the CIA say they thought he was responsible for?
Well, I'm smiling because that is such an important question. What we were told in the very beginning was that Abu Zubaydah was one of the most dangerous and most violent men on the planet, that he was the number 3 in Al-Qaeda. He was one of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks. And in the end, none of that was true. None of it. The information that we were getting from CIA headquarters, from NSA, from the FBI, it was all erroneous. And so we thought that this was this terrorist Superman that we were after. We literally dropped everything else that we were doing in Pakistan, and we dedicated a virtual army of men and women to tracking his location. But in the end, none of what we believed had any truth behind it.
And then where was he taken? You said he was taken in an unmarked plane out of Pakistan after being in this military hospital. Where did he go? I mean, just trace his journey. He went to several black sites. And what do you know about what happened at these black sites?
I am sorry to say that 20 years after the fact, the CIA has never publicly admitted or declassified the locations of those black sites. I'll defer to Mark on the specific answer, but I will say that the locations of these various sites have been reported on extensively in the media. I just can't confirm it.
And before we go to Mr. Dembo to talk about not only where he was taken, but these unbelievably horrifying illustrations of Abu Zubaydah, talk about how you came to be aware of what was happening to him. I mean, you were responsible for his capture, and why you decided to go to the media with that, which ultimately led to you being imprisoned.
Well, you know, I'm a firm believer in a couple of things. I'm a firm believer in respect for human rights, and I'm a firm believer in the rule of law. And if the United States, as a government, as a society and culture, is going to go around the world and impose our professed beliefs on human rights upon every other country in the world, if we are going to have anti-torture laws in our country, if we're going to be not just signatories to, but the drafters of the United Nations Convention Against Torture, then by God, we have to live by those words. Right? We have to take that seriously. We're either going to be a shining beacon for the rest of the world on human rights and civil liberties, or we're not. We can't be both. We can't tell other countries to respect civil rights and then ignore, or human rights, and then ignore human rights when it's inconvenient for us to respect them. Abu Zubaydah, I think, is the poster boy for that. Here's a man who we were just simply wrong about. We savaged him in secret. We denied him his constitutional rights to confront his accusers in a court of law. We never charged him with a crime.